Hey everybody, Alex here out of the Park 21 Pittsburgh Pirates franchise, episode number 35. Good to be back with you guys on the day of the 2024 MLB draft. Want to get through the draft here pretty quickly, but also want to do a short recap of where the team is at. Kind of regressed since our last episode, which was that promising start. We are now just 30 and 30 right at 500. So I had really tough month of May. Actually, just kind of went on a couple little mini win streak here after having just a horrible losing streak for about a week or so. I think back in May, right around here, yeah, just losing what is that, 6 straight games, 7 straight games, I should say, in just a really tough stretch. And then we kind of picked things up a little bit since then. Won our last couple of games, just one. I think we're on a 3-game win streak right now to get us back to 500. Pitching's been our biggest problem. I mean, check out some of the stats here. Musgrove, Hauser, Riley, Goss has been the only bright spot here in terms of the starting rotation. Gage Hins has been pretty poor as well. Just look at our numbers overall. The offense has still been pretty solid, but the pitching dead last in starters ERA. Now, I do think some of these guys like Musgrove and Hauser are getting unlucky, but if you look at, I think one of these guys especially, with their FIP. I forget who it is. But yeah, I mean, you see Hauser's FIP's 5.1, which is not great, but better than his 6.5 ERA. Musgrove's in a similar boat overall. And so, in young guys like Riley and Hins have been pitching better as of late. Couple of quality starts here from Trey Riley, his last 2 outings, and same with Gage Hins. And that leads us into our really big headlining story here, the return of Mitch Keller, but there are some consequences to Mitch Keller's return. Mitch Keller has returned from his 8-month injury due to a torn flexor tendon in his elbow, but his stamina has fallen all the way down to 35. And so, what is the future of Mitch Keller? It went from 60 to 35 coming off that injury. Super depressing. And so, here's the game plan with Keller: is that we've kept him as a starting pitcher on rehab assignment, basically going the full length, 30 days of his rehab time, because he hasn't pitched in 8 months. And the results have been good in AAA. We've slowly increased that pitch count. He's been awesome in 5 starts. So I know in this game, stamina doesn't seem to mean as much as the numbers may indicate. You can kind of get away with starting pitchers having pretty low stamina. So we're going to give Keller a shot here to be a starter. We'll do an episode shortly after the draft here that highlights Keller's return because he only has, I think, 2 days left on his rehab assignment. So just to look at his return and see how things go in a Pittsburgh Pirates uniform. But yeah, that is a crushing blow. We're not going to put him in the pen like Jackson Kowar because, again, stamina doesn't seem to mean, in this game at least, what the number always indicates, you can get away with pitchers having low stamina. So we'll see. But this was a race. Cy Young winner, and his career, we don't know how it's going to go. And that, I think, pushes us into that rebuild mode all the more. Last thing before we get into the draft itself, take a look at the standings. You see in the NL Central, pretty hotly contested. The Cubs, Brewers tied to the top. Pirates 3.5 games out. Cardinals a game ahead of us, 2.5 back of first place. The Rays continue to be the best team in baseball at 40 and 21. See the Mariners out there in the West. The Dodgers continue to struggle in the NL West as well, and the Twins is the worst team in baseball, and the Marlins are the worst team over in the NL. Should also note here, looking at some of these stats that I pulled up, Ernie Ordonez leads the NL in home runs, and Bradfield leads in stolen, or tied with Burbage in stolen bases, and Ordonez also leads in RBIs. So good stuff for him. Taylor Wall second in the NL in batting average. Okay, we are here for the 2024 MLB draft. The Pittsburgh Pirates picking 21st. The Cincinnati Reds picking number 1. Another team, NL Central team in the top 5. The Chicago Cubs picking at number 3. Let's take a look at some of the top prospects in this year's class. And it's a really strong class overall. It's one of the better draft classes that I've seen. Rusty Dixon, starting pitcher, maybe the top pick in this draft. Really throws high heat, high intelligence, and OSA likes him as a potential 80 pitcher, which should be obviously one of the best in baseball. Devin Obie's one of my favorite prospects. So the defense is not great, but I mean, check out the home run, the discipline, the contact. Really could be a stud, and OSA likes him even more. And so he's going to be well off the board by the time we pick at 21. In terms of the OSA mock draft, I do project Devin Obie to be the number 1 pick in this draft going to the Reds. Now, he does cost a lot of money. He's asking for $9.5 million. That's over I believe 7.2 million slot for the Reds, but well worth the money. I think Jordan Walker projected to go second. He's pretty cheap coming out of college, out of LSU at slot. And Rusty Dixon, that pitcher we showed you earlier, projected to go number 4 to Miami. Couple guys we're looking at here. I don't know exactly where I want to go at number 21, I have been taking a pretty good look at this shortstop here, Tamar Johnson. It's a really good glove. I think the bat's going to be just good enough to kind of get by with a good, decent contact and good avoid K potential. Although he won't hit for much power, kind of a slap hitter, but has good speed and can steal bases and hit a lot of infield singles. So if he's there, I think I'll consider him. One slot for a high schooler, that's pretty reasonable. Another guy I've been looking at is Greg Schaefer, starting pitcher, projected to go late in the first round. I think our mantra has to be, given just Keller's injury and probably going to trade Musgrove and Hauser and just not really having a lot of great prospects in the system. And these guys aren't are close to being ready to be called up. Just really acquire as much starting pitching as possible. And Schaefer, I think, could be one of those college arms at Oklahoma State. OSA likes him a lot. He's got 3 good pitches and there's a changeup as well, although it looks really poor. But power pitcher. Tops out around triple digits, good stamina. Maybe not a number 1 guy, but number 2, number 3 potential pitcher. So he's on my radar. The mock draft has us going Ethan Young, who I do like. Reminds me of Mike Fleming, who we drafted a couple years ago. But I don't know if we need a light hitting center fielder, especially with how well Enrique Bradfield is playing. One guy I really want to walk away this draft selecting is Mike Baker. Now, that name sounds familiar from if you're a diehard of the series. It's because we drafted him back in 2021 in the 3rd round, but we could not sign him, so he went and joined Cal. And he's a decent starting pitcher. OSA likes him more than our scout does, but I like him almost as a batter, more potential outfielder with some really good numbers overall in terms of where that potential could be. He's not going to cost too much. He's projected to go in the 3rd round right now, but I think I'm going to try to take him in the 2nd round, assuming he's still there. So I do not want to lose Mike Baker. I will take him a little bit higher if need be to ensure that I get him. So that's kind of where my head is at as we go into the draft. All right, let's start the 2024 MLB draft. The Cincinnati Reds are on the clock, and will they take Devin OB or will they surprise with Rusty Dixon or somebody else? Let's find out here in auto draft for the Reds. And they do take right fielder Devin OB. I think that is the no-brainer selection. This guy could be a stud for the Reds, and so we may see plenty of him in the next couple of years in the NL Central. Let's go through the top 5. The White Sox now on the clock. Will they go Dixon? Will they go Payne? I don't know who they were projected to take here, but let's find out. And they will take Rusty Dixon, the number 1 pitcher in this class, 18 years old, already hitting triple digits. The movements is a little bit low, but everything else looks fantastic. 5 different pitches that all could be good to excellent. And so durable pitcher as well. I think that's a really good selection for the White Sox. The Cubs now at number 3. And they will take Jordan Walker, kind of a safe pick. Power hitting, good arm, 3rd baseman out of LSU. He got drafted, by the the Marlins with a 3rd overall pick back in 2020, and then he was in 2023, was taken 6th overall, still went back to college, and now ends where he began, going number 3 overall. Maybe a mistake overall, because he probably would have gotten paid more money than what he'll get now, but still going number 3. Can't be too mad at that. We'll round up the top 5 here with Drew Jones going to the Marlins. Really good defensive, rangy center fielder, high school senior, a little older, coming out of high school. And the Mets, number 5, they will take Jimmy Payne, who really looks good. They get defensively, he looks pretty average, and hopefully those position ratings grow a little bit. He's 6'8", though. I think you make this guy a first baseman and call it a day. So that's probably a really good selection for the Mets. All right, so now we'll just kind of sim through, and I'll come back when it's number 21 for the Pirates, and we'll see who's all available for Pittsburgh. All right, it is pick number 21. The Pittsburgh Pirates are on the clock, and let's see where the top 20 have gone. Again, we showed you guys the top 5. A couple interesting names here, and the guy I was probably going to take went off the board at number 15, projected to go 27th, but I think 15 makes more sense for him. Greg Schaefer is now a member of who was at the Yankees, I believe, the New York Yankees, and that was probably going to be our guy. And so what direction do we go now? The one name that comes to mind that I think I'd mentioned earlier at some point here, and let me go ahead and pull up the top players available in the draft was Tamar Johnson, the shortstop, really defensive minded. He is going to cost slot, so he's not going to break the bank, about 4 million or so. The question is just, do you think that bat's going to be good enough? I think it is. 19 years old though, so I mean he's more ready because of how good that glove is, but that bat still got a decent amount of progress that it needs to make, and it'll never be good. And I mean, you would like the infield arm to be a little bit better for a shortstop, maybe more of an ideal second baseman, but either way, I think he can play short or second base. So that's one name who comes to mind. In terms of starting pitching, there's Mike Goyette, who does want a decent amount of money, $6 million, high school arm, does not throw hard, but has three potential pitches, and usually this personality trait generally means good things. Other than that, I mean, these guys are a little bit too much money. I did look at Chris Kenny, who's 18. I mean, I don't think he'll ever be a top end of the rotation guy, probably a number three, number four, because the stuff and movement aren't great, but the control's good, kind of has that Musgrove type profile. Well, he doesn't throw a ton of heat, but it sits, about average. And he's durable, which is nice to see. That is one guy that we could look at. Other than that, I'm not really seeing any names that I like a whole lot. Kevin Friel's okay. He does throw a decent amount of pitches, but I don't think he's worth the first round selection. And the relieving pitching, there's no relievers really in this class that are worth talking about as first round candidates. In terms of batters, it's Ethan Young, who we were projected to get in the mock draft, which is an interesting guy. I think he's pretty close to being ready, but I don't know if I would take him over Johnson. And Applegate, another good defensive minded guy, but I like Johnson more than Applegate. Avila's interesting. I do like him, but he's probably a second baseman because the infield arm is low, and that's a nice profile though. High work ethic, high intelligence. So might be coming down to Dave No Hands. This is his nickname, Avila, out of Kentucky, or Tamar Johnson. Let me deliberate, and I'll come back with my decision. All right, guys, I've made my decision. I double checked with my scouting director, Mike Rivera, to get his opinion, and it backs up where I'm going to go with Tamar Johnson, the shortstop high schooler out of Georgia. Really good defensively. I think the bat will be good enough. We have a guy, a deal, Amador, that's similar, but I really like this guy in terms of just the overall speed defensively. I think there's a very high floor with him, even if the ceiling is not incredibly high. But you want defense with your infield. That is so key, especially for us trying to be a small market team, trying to exploit some of the market inefficiencies. Defense probably undervalued, and its bonus demand is pretty low. So I will go ahead and meet the demand here. Or should I just draft a player? Because I always get a little finicky with these. And should I do demand or just draft a player and deal with the negotiations later? I'll go ahead and meet the demand though and make Tamar Johnson the number 21 pick of the MLB 24 draft and the newest member of the Pittsburgh Pirates. All right, Pirates on the clock here in round number 2. And Ethan Young, who was projected to be our first round pick, is still there. That is surprising. I did not think he was going to fall really cheap. But I know the guy talked about wanting to draft Mike Baker, and I really don't want to get out of this draft without Mike Baker. And I believe he's still here, listed as a starting pitcher. Let me scroll down. He is down here. Would he be there in the third round? We always play this game of, hopefully he'll be there, he'll fall, and sometimes that doesn't happen. I really like this guy. I do not want to lose Mike Baker, but Ethan Young being there is a surprise to me. But this guy, I think, could become a really good outfielder, potentially a pitcher, but I like him more in the outfield. Let's see who else is available in terms of the top players on the board. It is Ethan Young, the number one player on the board. Just position ratings, will those things grow enough to justify him defensively? Although the range is acceptable, but I just don't like those light hitting corner outfielders. And again, will he be great in center field? I just don't think so. In that eye discipline, kind of a Marte type of profile, but I don't think he's as good defensively as Starling Marte. So let me just look here quickly. Don't think any other names here. Applegate was kind of interesting as well, but the bat just, I think, is kind of poor overall. In terms of the pitching, top guys here, Asuna. I like Asuna. That's not bad. 18 years old. Pretty, I think, rounded out here for being a young guy. I just can't get in this draft, though, without Mike Baker. I don't want to lose this guy. And so it's going to be a reach. I think fans are going to question why taking this potential third, fourth round pick here in the second round. But I'm going to go ahead and draft Mike Baker and make him a Pirate and hopefully sign the guy. this time. So we're gonna go ahead. Why can't I offer the There's no bonus demand. That's interesting. Okay. Um, Anything about his bonus demand? Just says slot. Okay, I couldn't offer that. It's a little strange. Do I not have the money to do that? I should have the money to do that. All right, we'll figure it out there. But we're gonna draft Mike Baker and make him a Pittsburgh Pirate. All right, round number three, and the guy I have listed here is who I think we're going to take. I'm only going to do 5 rounds on camera and then do the rest off camera and a recap, but just in the interest of trying to keep this video a little bit shorter. Asuna, though, we mentioned before, is still on the board, which does surprise me a little bit at least. Do you think Baker would have been there? Yeah, I think Baker would not have been taken had I gone with Ethan Young, but what are you going to do? You want to get your guy, you get your guy, and that's all that really matters at the end of the day here. Check out some of these other starting pitchers. Anyone else that would be interesting? I think Osuna might have. I think Osuna does have the best profile. 18 years old. I mean, numbers still have a ways to go, but the potential is really high and somewhat developed. And it's not the changeup that needs to develop; it's a curveball with high work ethic, good velocity, 95 to 97. This stuff is not overpowering, but it's not bad either. Yeah, I think it's acceptable for an MLB starting pitcher. The stamina is a little bit lower than 140, but hopefully that could potentially increase over time. So we'll probably go up a little bit because we got Tamar Johnson on the cheap and meets the demand at 1.6 million and takes Sam Osuna as starting pitcher. All right, here in round number four, I'm surprised this guy's on the board too. Been a weird draft overall. Jorge Guerrera, first baseman. The defensive, categories are poor, and the contact's lower than what you'd like it to be. But this kind of profile here in round number four, I think, is impressive. Let's see what OSA has to say. I like him a whole lot. I mean, 70 home run power potential. Our scout a little less enthusiastic about him, but still overall that's solid. And he's pretty cheap for being a high school, granted a high school senior. I mean, 500,000. Recommended slot is his demand. So I think it's kind of a no-brainer. I don't draft a lot of first basemen, but we're going to do it here with Jorge Guerrera. All right, for the last one we'll do on camera in round number five. Going to go a bit of a weird one here with Bobby Green, a 6'7", 200-pound, 18-year-old right fielder with no power but really high avoid K and contact potential. The defense is suspect. Just interesting profile overall. High intelligence. We'll see if he can grow and develop. I'm not sure what to do with this guy. I was thinking about making him a first baseman because he's 6'7" and he'll improve defensively, but the power is low. But either way, interesting guy, 18 years old. Gonna take a flyer on. He wants a little bit more than slop, and I think I have some money to play with here, so I won't haggle with him too much and just go ahead here and meet the demand with Bobby Green in the 5th round. And with that selection, we'll do the rest of the picks off camera, and then I'll come back with you guys with our entire draft class. All right, guys, we have concluded the 2024 MLB draft. I'll run through our top 5 picks and then go through the rest of them briefly just to show you the rest of the class that we took. Again, our first overall pick at number 21 overall was shortstop Tamar Johnson. Great glove, decent bat, like the pick overall. Second round, the guy I've been looking and chasing after for years now, Mike Baker. We're going to convert him actually to an outfielder. Let's change his position right now. Probably put him corner outfield or so, potential of 50, liking those numbers overall. And so I'm really glad to get him back under contract. Sam Osuna, our 3rd-round pick, good starting pitcher. Stuff is not fantastic, but 18 years old. I like the chance to get Osuna into the system and work his way up the ladder. Jorge Guerrero, I think, is good value in the 4th round, power hitting first baseman, even if his defense is going to be pretty poor. And then Bobby Green, kind of an awkward looking right fielder, but with really high contact potential, and same with avoid Ks. All right, so picks you guys did not see. 6th round, Manny Ortega, starting pitcher. Yes, the ever developing changeup is concerning, but 18 years old with high intelligence, it appears at least. I'm going to take a flyer on him. So we have to sign him. He's got a little more of a demand, but hopefully we can get him inked. And then Dave Bennett, starting pitching, just loading up on starting pitching. The mentality for the draft is just kind of throw as many darts as possible at starting pitching and see what happens. So that's going to be Dave Bennett at just 17 years old. Joseph King here, low movement, extreme fly balls, a bad combination, but interesting profile here overall. And actually, this guy does have the ability to play catcher, and he'll probably get converted to catcher because I think it's a little bit more of an attractive skill set than where he's at as a starting pitcher. 9th round, Ezekiel Barajas. Pretty good avoid K potential. Nothing else really spectacular, but we'll see what happens there. 18 years old. Pretty high school driven class overall, I think, is what my philosophy, not intentionally was, but what it turned out to be at least. First reliever, David Rhodes here in the 10th round. Pitcher, finesse, not the best, but does throw 4 decent pitches. Followed that up with another reliever, Patrick Riley, with a little handlebar mustache going on. OSA liked him a decent amount more, so we'll take the flyer on Patrick Riley. 12th round, Nolan Schubert. Don't know if I'll be able to sign him. He wants some extra money. Why did I take him? That's a good question to ask. I think as a pitcher, right, he showed some pitching potential. We'll see if I sign him or not. Eddie Golly, center fielder, good range, maybe a versatile type player. I don't know about him being a pitcher, but he was our 13th round pick. And then a guy who was on the board forever, so I just took him because I kept seeing his name pop up, Jake Althouse, with a defensive-driven center fielder. The bat is pretty poor, but just 19 years old. Like I said, a lot of high school guys end up taken in this draft class. 15th round went Jordan Alfaro. You guys know I'm a big fan of the I discipline, avoid K combination, and he has it. 6'4", 200 pounds at just 18 years old. Shortstop here, Dylan Lena in the 16th round. Really good defensive guy. The bat is ugly, but we'll get him some good defense, and that'll help out some of our developing starting pitchers. And he can be a starting pitcher, reliever, shortstop. A lot going on there with Dylan Lena. 17th round, Jose Marino. I took him mostly because of that knuckle curve is interesting. We'll see how a guy with a potentially great knuckle curve could do with 80 stamina as well. Just kind of a flyer on that. 17 years old, so a lot of time for him to develop. Brandon Neek, reliever, being low A ball for his 24 years old out of Virginia. I think our first round pick, Elijah Content, was from Virginia as well. Maybe he can get Content's career going because he ended up being a big bust for me. But I think good value here, 18th round. I mean, 4 good pitches. The movement's low, fly ball pitcher, all that. But 18th round could do a whole lot worse than Brandon Neek. Dustin Sprong, reliever, former Penguin, maybe related to Daniel Sprong, who knows, but 19th round guy. Again, decent skill set in terms of the pitches that he throws. The movement, though, is low, and that is certainly a pet peeve of mine. 20th round, Dean Glassy, a reliever. Again, knuckle curve, 70 potential, interesting guy. We'll take the chance on it, just 19 years old. Dylan Lesko, a reliever at high school, Buford High School. It looks like 20 years old, throws pretty good heat, and that was the main reason why I took him. Lucas Torres in the 22nd round, I should say. Really versatile guy. He does want extra money. I don't know if I'll end up signing him, but just when you have the ability to play that many positions, it's interesting. They're late in the draft, so I ended up taking him. Parker Messick, a reliever, 23 years old. Yeah, at this point, it would start hard to find guys. Maybe a lefty specialist of some sort. Numbers a little bit better versus lefties because he's a sidearm guy who throws lefty as well. So that's kind of the reason I took him. 24th round, Billy Parler, high intelligence with some bat. Again, defensively might not be great, but he's 6'3". You can work with that as a first baseman. So I took a chance on him, and OSA actually likes him a little bit. So that's one name to at least keep an eye on, maybe a late round sleeper. 25th round, Zach Adams, 18-year-old. And at this point, I really was just going with intelligence. I was just sorting by players with high intelligence, and you just, again, throw a lot of darts at them. And if one of those guys can just get that friendly, random talent change in their benefit, then it's worth kind of this approach. And he throws a forkball, which is always kind of fun. So that was really the approach here for these last several picks. Jaden Agnew, shortstop, 19 years old, decent avoid K potential, decent defensively, his profile, and high intelligence as well. Josh Armstrong, 18-year-old starting pitcher. Curveball could be good, maybe a reliever of some sort. Again, high stamina, high work ethic, high intelligence. We'll take the flyer in the 27th round. 28th round, Becker Kress, a catcher. Was that the first catcher I took in this draft? It might have been, but high work ethic, high intelligence, a decent ability arm for the level, and just hard to find good catchers in this draft, hard to find good catchers in this game in general. Isaac Fitzgerald, next to last selection, really good personality profile overall, high work ethic, high intelligence, high adaptability. Extreme fly ball movement is a little less impressive, but we'll just see if he can get lucky with some improvements in his game. He's durable as well. And then Marcus Johnson, our final pick here, not high intelligence guy, but a well-developed reliever type who can fill out the minor league system. So that is our draft class overall. I will come back in short order here with Mitch Keller's return as a Pittsburgh Pirate, see how his first start off that stint off the DL, see that 5 times fast goes. So we'll be back in just a day or two, but I wanted to show you guys the draft and Hope these Pittsburgh Pirates can maybe compete, but it'll probably still be a seller's market. Try trading guys like Nick Castellanos, maybe even Kevin Newman if I can deal him, Joe Musgrove, Adrian Hauser. Let's see, from a pitching standpoint, Brad Wheat could go. But also, by the way, David Bednar's a Pirate in real life, so that's kind of fun to see that come full circle. Will Klein is struggling, but his FIP is so much better than what the numbers indicate. 2.62 FIP for an ERA of 6. So I think he's just getting really unlucky with that incredibly high 452 BABIP. So I'm not worried about Will Klein right now. And we also got off waivers TJ Sycamore, just trying to get some long relief stuff. And then Brady Aiken, he's a good story, former first round pick in 2014 of the Astros and then of the Indians in 2015. And this is his first time finally making it to the major leagues, doing okay. So kudos to Brady Aiken for a long journey paying off. But we'll be back in a couple of days here in OOTP world to show you guys Mitch Keller, how he does at the Pittsburgh Pirates. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll talk to you soon.